There are many people who will describe the following. A need for,
That's what I
okay,
teach my kids when they were young. My husband, well, we're gonna teach that old lady down and out.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was, huh?
Yeah.
well, we back here with Ms. Batiste, Tutu, right? Tutu is your nickname, and her daughter.
That's two I got Creole about it. My name is Lydia.
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 Huh.
That's her right name.
Mhm.
Lydia Atlow Batiste.
Right.
I see.
Right.
Her nickname is Tutu.
What was your maiden name?
Hmm?
Maiden name.
Atlow.
Atlow. Oh, Atlow. I
Atlow.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
Atlow.
That's why I told you Lydia Atlow.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of times people didn't learn the old ways because they were ashamed of the old ways. You know, a lot of people, even coming from Europe, when they came to America, they wanted to be Americans. You know, I know my grandmother, she spoke Spanish. But
She was
didn't.
Spanish town?
Huh?
She come from Spain?
No, Puerto Rico.
Okay.
My grandfather was an Indian, and he went down there during the Spanish-American War and married her.
So that makes you what, a mixed breed like me?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm,
You one too, I can look at you and tell. He's laughing away, but.
No, my dad's Irish and my mother's Spanish.
well, you know, now for the first time next year in the census, they're gonna have a designation for mixed breeds, mixed blood. Before they didn't have it. And see, my aunt won't admit that her daddy is an Indian because that was shameful. You were either white or black. Indians didn't have any status.
But those are the
So-
pure Americans. I'm not
But
ashamed of my background.
Oh, I'm not in. But they lost. The Europeans conquered them. You know, everybody says Europeans came over here as explorers.
I know.
Hell with that. They came over here to conquer.
Exactly.
They were
Conquer and
invaders.
live. Right.
Right. And
right.
and the Indians, they made them all these treaties and promises, never
Did
kept
nothing.
one. Not one time
That's
did they
why
keep
the
a
Indians
promise.
said the white man spoke with forked
Forked
tongue.
tongue, yes,
That
indeed.
Indian
Yeah.
said something and didn't stand behind it.
I mean,
So,
you know, the Indians and the blacks and everybody else was taken advantage of, and it wasn't even the Europeans themselves
I know.
were taken advantage of.
I know.
These poor people coming from Germany or wherever.
That's my son Ronald.
Yeah, how you doing?
I don't know
This
his
is
name.
Owen.
Owen.
Oh,
How you doing?
All right.
and you know, they were used to make money.
that's my
Was it big?
son, my daughter there. So,
Yeah, I just told him.
That's her
you
son.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many grandchildren do you have?
Oh, I can't tell you. I so many. I can't tell. You see, you asked me one time about a graveyard, and I told him, well, I tell you all the facts. I can't remember this. And my daughter, this one, we always about a graveyard, and she said, you don't know how many y'all have? I said, yes, I do. I said, I know how many we had. You standing up there by the graveyard, and I tell them, so many, I'm telling you, so many, it's so many. I can't tell. So much grandchildren.
It's not
Oh,
the grandchildren,
who
it's the great and
I
the
like
great.
it.
Yeah, how many?
Because she's got about 19 grandkids. I have 4. My sister that died had 4. My sister right there, she's got 7. And that's about like 15, right? And
Sit on
my
that.
brother's got about 3. It's 19, right? But we have a whole slew of
There's
Great,
14 grandchildren.
great.
It was 5 children living. She had 15 children. And I think it's 5 or 6 great grandchildren. She's the living person of whatever you want to call it, of 5 generations. She has grandchildren, grandchildren, and great grandchildren. I know the history about the past, about North Shore. So I was fascinated, curious about that. In the 1700s, there was mostly Indian here. That was considered called the Choctaws and the Tecumseh. In the late 1700s, the white people came across here. The Germany and France.
So I'm still there from that. I'm old now. Give it up.
Talk to you later. I'll be there later. Hold your horses, sweetheart. Love you. I'll be there. Bye. The function and
Yeah, cola pizza.
I didn't look too much, but I knew about the Choctaw because I heard you rain from that bayou right there at Farm Blue all the way to Madisonville. Then the white people from Germany and France came across here. You know what I'm saying? And met the Indian. Okay, in her family, it was I think my great grandmother was a half breed, half white, half Indian. I assume my great grandfather was a white man. I didn't think no Indian man married a white woman in time. You feel me?
No.
I don't think so.
No, not an Indian man marrying a white woman.
Exactly. So I assume
An Indian man marrying a white man marrying an Indian
that's what
woman.
I just said.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I assume my great grandfather was a Frenchman, a white man.
Yeah, you don't know who he was.
No,
Well, his name was Torraganda.
Torrigan.
Yes, sir. I don't know what. I was going to try to look up my family tree, but the lady at the church had an attitude. They had record about it, and when I asked her, she's supposed to be a nun, and she kind of verbally, but politely, tell me, oh, none of my business. And I said, God bless you. I love you, daughter. But I knew my great grandfather's name was Gabriel. Now on my grandfather's side, there was a slave. On her side, there was a slave too, but on I think her daddy's side, I don't know what her daddy's name was. I knew his name.
Hippolyte Atlow.
Hippolyte.
What Hippolyte is? Say it in American way.
That's French.
I don't
What
know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think
I know
there is one.
Napoleon is Napoleon, but you know.
Yeah, I don't think there is an American way to say Hippolyte. I mean,
Just like we had an old lady here by the name of Fidelis. I don't know how to spell that. Don't know what that
Fidelis.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I mean, a lot of names were changed,
Right.
by from Europeans. I mean, coming over here, whoever ran them through customs or immigration, they changed them because they didn't know how to spell it because all they knew how to do was write the next.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of your French names don't end in an X, but when you see them today spelled out, they end in an X because they put the name like Landrieu,
Right.
Landrieu, but then the X followed it, so now they spell it Landrieux. You see, so America is a big melting pot, just like they say, And the thing is, what they did, they boiled the Indians to get rid of them, and I mean, did all kind of nasty stuff to them, and that's part of what I try to teach in the schools. Is so that the kids will understand some of the dark side of America, Because I mean,
we have dark side.
And
that wasn't even necessary. But guess what?
But boy,
When the end comes, there's so many gonna have to stand before God and give an account.
but boy, do our children need guidance?
Oh yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
You know what's pathetic to me? It's not per se the dark side or the past, what was. It's the fact that after all what happened, individual had the audacity to still say they hate. And you know what? They're trying to fool, try to disguise hatred as a racial thing. But I'm gonna tell you something, brother. I got more black enemies than I got white enemies.
Yeah.
You
Me
got
too.
more white enemies than you have black enemies.
Me too.
Oh boy, I got a lot of them around at home. I can
So
tell
what
you
is it? What you doing, man? You know what I mean?
that. I just ignore
It's
them.
pathetic,
Me
you know?
too.
You know, just like you say.
Exactly, you know?
One of these days, where like they say, what goes around comes around.
You got
know?
that right.
I mean,
Basically, they're a bunch of morons, really, if you want to look
Yeah.
at it. You know?
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I'm interested in history, and I love people.
Yeah,
You know,
there you go.
and I mean, I'm trying to find out as much as possible at the end of this 20th century, so that in the next century, people will be able to hear your voice and understand some of the things that you went through. You know, like Peter was telling me that the Davis family would not sell land to black people. And
No, they wouldn't. I
On the
remember that.
last,
Oh,
though.
I remember that.
Well, you know, man, come on, man. You know, look at the history. I mean, if he didn't play his role, the white man, the nigga fled, they might have kicked his ass. But see, old man David was a bad son of a bitch. He killed his own brother.
yeah,
He killed a bunch of niggas, and he did whatever. He probably screwed his sister too, if you want to look at it. But I remember the day that old man coming here, before he died, he wanted to repent, with his seersucker suit right out there.
the
whole
day
black-
before he died.
No.
Oh,
Remember, well, time before he died, period before he died.
Yeah.
With the seersucker coming here, sitting in my kitchen, that old kitchen that he tore out right there, with my grandpa eating something we call Johnny cake. That all that is, flour and water fried in lard. You feel me?
And we didn't have no what you
and
call
trying-
vegetable
trying to,
oil. It was lard. You could get it in the
trying to
farm
sell-
trade.
I remember.
Yeah.
Jewel was his
You
name.
pretty old, huh?
Yes,
Trying to sell my grandfather
How old are
that
you?
all this land around here for $300.
How old are you?
65.
You know what I'm saying?
You're just 3 years older than me. You're not old.
That's right. Uh-oh.
I didn't say. I just said I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I
We
remember.
grew up together.
Yeah, I remember on the farm. I lived on a farm. We had a 2-room shack. No running
See?
water. No electricity.
You know,
You know, and this is in the
Did you tell
1940s.
him?
But
we had nothing.
Where is that?
But to us, we had everything because
Yeah.
we weren't sickly people.
I
no.
thought we were rich.
And as far as
Yeah.
I can, let's get back to what you want that down for now. As far as I can remember back, that was just what we call Creole back here on this side of the track, okay?
Mhm.
Until other people start moving in, then we had a mixture
Mhm.
of all colors, okay? But everybody spoke Creole during my young days when I was a little girl. And it was just like one big happy family because we didn't wait till holidays to just go visit. I mean, we were visiting like all through the week. And to have what you call, if somebody was in desperate need of a little help, like some old people would get down sick, and during those times they didn't have what they call relief. They had that later on in the years. Now they call it welfare, okay? But they would have like a supper. That's where they cook a lot of food and desserts and stuff. And everybody would come there that night and they would buy the items that was there for sale, and the little money would go to the needy person. She was excellent at that. And then they had such a thing we call pound. For the needy person, she would go around herself with a little basket they used to make like that. And if you had a can of something or a bag of something you wanted to donate, onion or potatoes, whatever, she'd pick that up. We would go with her to help her carry it. And take it to the old person. So we did that a lot. Okay? She was like a good Samaritan around here. I remember there was a time I used to cry, me and my sister that died, and my youngest brother, because we were like, the brother 2 years older than me, and the sister 2 years older than him, okay? Because she was always helping people, but we didn't understand anything about it until after we got old, okay? But that was needed for her to go around and do those things to help people, okay? And God really bless her, I'm speaking straight from the heart. The only thing she suffered with, maybe occasional headache, arthritis in that right knee, and that's it.
That's great. Well, she looks good, darn good
And
for
she-
97
And
years
she's
old.
walking around
Yeah.
in the house. Okay, she's got those two cans, but in the house she mostly use nothing to walk with. She'll hold on when she
Mhm.
cares about something. And I think that's great. That helped me out a lot because my sister right there, she's on oxygen machine. She got bad heart. She can't help at all. You know, so it's all on me. So I do what I can. 'Cause I'm down with my back too, you know, but I let God take care of it. You know.
Well, she's got good genes, I guess, you know,
Yeah,
and hopefully pass it along to y'all. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, we,
You brought her back in?
Yeah, look for a fight. Where's it?
Boy, she's like the guy that did that
I don't
somewhere.
hope I live this long.
Yeah.
My, where your pipe at?
I said, I don't hope I
No,
live.
you don't.
But I done pray and ask God, if He let me live to see her age, don't let me be a burden on nobody, because if I'm a burden on somebody, just take me. I don't like to impose on anybody.
You go, Grandma.
what kind of pipe tobacco you smoke?
Usually.
Bugler?
Oh, but
Alright.
put
Oh,
something
if I
on my
forget that stuff first and what?
That's
tobacco
cigarette.
deep?
Yeah.
And cigarette tobacco, huh?
Yeah. You brought her back in?
Yeah, I got some.
And she eat anything and don't upset her? You
Mm.
want to ask me some question about my daddy. You're going to have to ask the question way back. When you ask it, I'll remember. But just for me to go dig back, that's so far back.
Yeah.
She,
'Cause I
Well-
can remember him plowing in the garden. We used to work, we used to go to school and come back and have to hit that garden and field. We had like 2 small fields, and that all on this side there, that was a garden. And we plant. You see, this corn comes and goes. That's from garden time when I was a young girl. I can't totally get rid of it, so it don't bother me. I just
Yeah.
don't bother it, okay?
Where'd y'all go to school?
We had a school named Martindale Elementary.
Tell me about that. I've heard that, you know, the white school, of course, is up there.
Yeah,
That old Willie Davis
right.
donated that,
Right,
but there was no provision made for black children.
None
And the
whatsoever.
Catholic Father Ballet, you remember Father Ballet?
Yes, she does. I think he was the one that christened her.
Yeah.
Father Belly.
Oh,
They
yeah.
didn't say ballet now, those old Frenchmen said ballet.
Ballet?
Ballet.
Ballet.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, he
So-
got killed. Yeah, got killed right by that ballroom.
No.
No.
Jefferson.
She's talking about somebody else.
Oh, okay. No.
No.
No, Father Ballet died of a heart attack.
Right,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right.
Sometimes
And you know, Father Rouquet was down here too with the Indians.
Oh, yeah. I know a lot about Rouquet. I'm doing a book,
Yeah.
history on him.
Did you know where that gravel road is behind the Catholic Church?
Mhm.
All the way to the end. Did you know they had a little church there for the Indian, a little one-room shack?
All the way at the end near the bayou?
Yeah, soon you get down at the end of the gravel road, then that's gonna intersect with the road going through
Right,
the
going
Davis old
across,
house, right?
yeah. Uh-huh.
But right at the end, there's big oak trees.
They got-
Trees done
they got
grew
fire
up. They had
by-
Indian
I
graves
know.
in there.
That's what I got for you.
Trees done
Okay.
grew up in them, and the little church is gone now. But when I was a little
That's
girl, they used to dare us
Don't
to
lose
go
that
in. You know how
no-no.
kids dare you? They had a fence around
Yeah.
it. Some of that old broken fence might still be there, but matched to the ground. But that was a little church. And down back in what they call Bell Park now, we used to call it in the corner. They had Indian buried there, and they had a little white girl buried there, and he was buried there too. The priest was buried there too. Some white people came from New Orleans. I think that was either back in the late 60s or early 70s, wanting to dig up his remains and take them from here. That was repaired. And a lot of people got together and said, a lot of people from down here got, I don't know who they were. They got together and said, no, let it stay there with white people, you know. I mean, the man's been buried all those years, and just to dig up a few bones, hey, the soul going back to God. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that
Well,
cross is still back there.
see,
The grave
yeah.
not there. That little one room church is all gone. Nobody kept it up. Okay.
That
But I
was a little,
remember
that was one of the little chapels that Rouquette built.
Right.
That was right there at the end, because
right,
that was their property, I know that.
Uh-huh.
That belonged to them.
Right. Right.
But now, my research shows that he was buried in New Orleans in the Priest Cemetery, St. Louis Cemetery number 2. But then his body was moved and you see,
People from, not say cutting, people from New Orleans came to take his remains back. That's what I was telling you.
no, but according to the church records, he was buried in New Orleans. But then they took his body from there and brought it back to Lacombe. Because that was his last wish, was to be buried in Lacombe.
He was always buried back there. Because the old people used to say that years ago. Because my daddy said how everybody branched down telling them that, you know, that part of Rouquette was buried back there.
Yeah, but they could have brought him back there. See, in other words, he died in New Orleans. And they buried him in St. Louis Cemetery number 2, because that's documented. That's written down. And the Indians came there and marched behind his coffin in the funeral and to Priest Cemetery number 2. But he always wanted to be buried in Lacombe. So according to my research, they moved his body at some time after he was put in the priest's tomb, because they no longer show that he is in the priest's tomb. So there's a legend about Rouquette that he was put into a live oak tree. And that head that Marvin Cousin gave to me, it's a wooden head, a bust of him as a young priest, is in the museum. And that was found by Marvin in 1970 inside a bottom of an old rotten oak. It had died, and I think that they must have put the head up in the crotch of the tree when it was still alive. And even when Father Rouquette was alive, he had to deny to the Archbishop that he was living in a hollow live oak tree, because that was a rumor or a legend that was going around about him while he was still alive. So he had to write the Archbishop and say, no, I'm not living in an oak tree. But see, the Indians believed that a human spirit could go into a tree. And a lot of the kids at Chataima asked me, is Father Rouquette buried out in that oak tree in the schoolyard? There's an oak tree in the schoolyard with concrete that was put in it. And see, that legend is still going.
But you see, back there where that cross is at, they used to have a huge oak tree there. When I was a little girl, and I don't remember what happened to it.
Yeah, well, that was the site of one of his chapels. That was supposedly one of his chapels that was there, because that was an Indian burial ground.
I know.
And that's where he wanted to be buried. Now, you see, nobody knows, like the old people, they say that's where he was buried. But we don't know that for sure. And that's one of the stuff, you know, that I'm trying to find out more about, you know. And in the archdiocese at the old Ursuline convent in New Orleans, that's where the Catholic archdiocese has all their records. And I've looked in the trays. They got tray after tray after tray of things about Rouquette, his writings, the letters he wrote, the poems, the stories. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until 1992 that they translated one of his poems about the Choctaw from French into English. And I met a lady who wrote a book about Father Rouquette in France, but she wrote it in French. I have the book, and I don't speak French, so I can't read it. But she did a lot of research over in Paris, France, because there's a lot of stuff on Rouquette over there too. So he was a very intelligent, creative man. He was sloppy. He was lazy. He didn't. He was a juvenile delinquent when he was a young man. You know, before he became a priest, he was a man, and he hung out with a lot of the Indian people. You know, girls included.
Are you water?
Yeah, drugs. They did drugs.
Over here.
Smoking horses.
Yeah, over here. Oh, definitely over here. He was always running away from school. He hated school. He did not like school. His father committed suicide when he was like 6 years old. He drowned himself in the river because he went bankrupt. He was a wine merchant. He imported wine from France. And on Royal Street, you know where Brennan's restaurant is? Right next door to Brennan's restaurant is the house. He had a wine shop in the bottom, and the family lived up top, as they all did in those days, you know. And Rouquette always wanted to run away to be with the Indians over here, because his family, you know, the Cousins owned all his land over here. So he liked it over here, because play around in the woods, you know, go fishing and crabbing and swimming and all that. So, but then they sent him to boarding school up in Kentucky, because he kept running away after his mother died. His mother died when he was 16. And so he really went wild, and his guardian shipped him off to boarding school. And he ran away from there, too. He came back here and was living over in Lacombe before they found out about it, you know. So then they shipped him off to Europe, to France, to study law. Well, he was not a lawyer. He was a poet. He was an artist, you know, and he liked the free and easy life. And so he got in with what you call the wrong crowd, you know,
I know about
over there, you know, on the left bank. And they had drugs like absinthe and all kind of.
What's that?
Absinthe is a liqueur made with wormwood, aged in wormwood barrels. And
Alcohol.
yeah, it's an alcohol. Yeah, it's real potent alcohol drink. Tastes like licorice.
Okay.
And yeah, it was, but it really powerful. Knock you on your ass real quick, you know. And
Did he? What did the Frank beef in that little snow?
yeah,
That wasn't no snow.
no, yeah, it was tobacco. Tobacco's a narcotic, you know.
Yeah, nicotine.
Yeah, and yeah, they would snort that just like cocaine, you know. But it probably
Sick.
wasn't. But I mean, this is, you know, this went on all the time. See, and he got really, really tore up one Mardi Gras over there in Paris, and I mean, really hungover. And
No.
he went to Mass, Ash Wednesday, day after Mardi Gras, to Notre Dame Cathedral, and he heard some French priest who was a real good orator, gave a sermon, and that's what started him to reform his life, to change his life, and become a priest. Not right away, you know, because he came back to Louisiana first. He loved America. He was a very patriotic young man. And he came back here, and he started going same thing over and over again. You know, his resolve was not very strong. But then eventually he talked to people, and he went to become, what do they call it, a novitiate? When you go to the seminary? Yeah. And he came out and he became a priest. And then he was a priest in New Orleans, though.
Rumor had it that he was in love with an Indian maiden down here.
And rumor also has it that he had 2 children that are the old people, it may not be written down, you may not be able to find it in a book, but it was in their
Right.
memories, you know?
Right.
And that's why I like to talk to people who can remember these things, you know?
I mean, it's a treasure. I mean, if I had the skills to write down a book, to sit down, to say some of the stories that lady done told me sitting on that old bed.
I'll bet.
You know what I'm saying? She done told me some stories. She done told me stories at night while I turn off the TV. And I'm a couch potato. And I listen to her, man. I heard some things. I mean, it was valuable. I was a fool. I should have had a kid before and take it. But she told me about what it did, a good thing, about bad things, about the time when they were walking through the path. My grandpa and them, because they used to all walk through the path to go to some kind of little thing in church. And they saw a big fire. They said, "What are they doing over there?" What it is, and the other dude was getting ready to burn this black dude, John Dookie. Family Dookie and Dad. She told her that, and they bunch got together and told them if they burn it or whatever, they're gonna kill it off.
It can burn his house.
Of his body, they're gonna kill it.
Murders and beatings
Yeah.
and all kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, but he saw it. He was
Yeah.
bald.
Well, he had a ballroom, right? Yeah, sure. So he knew firsthand. Yeah.
Yeah.
What time you got?
Almost 12:15.
You have some
Okay,
more
we
questions you
got-
want to ask me before you run?
I got to meet the newspaper man up at Dubox at
Okay.
12:30. Well,
Sometimes
so but I definitely would like to come back
Okay.
and talk to y'all. You know, three of y'all together, and
Yeah.
see that that
And we'll
helps.
talk on one subject at a time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So you won't
ma'am.
have that mix a little bit here and a
Right.
little bit there and something else. in
Right.
between.
Right.
One subject
But
at a time.
I promise the newspaper man's gonna do a front page story on the project that I'm doing. It's called, since you didn't hear it, it's called Local Legacies. What it is, it's every community all over the United States has some sort of legacy. And I'm doing particularly on the Creoles of Lacombe and particularly the lighting of the cemeteries. When I saw this book, I saw Owen Murphy, that's his name. I saw his name, so I called him and I said, look, you know, do you want to get in on this project? Because this is going to be put in the National Archives, in the Library of Congress. It's the oldest cultural institution in the nation. So that's what we are doing. So, you know, I need to get back in touch with you. Do you have
Okay.
yeah, let me write down a phone number where I can get in touch.
82-60-17. Tell you what,
And I'm gonna give you mine too.
tell you a good thing. See sometimes how minds go in and out.
Yeah.
You can tape record and give me about a month. I'll give you the whole story.
7707.
Bill,
Okay,
Now
and
put
that's
Diane.
Diane.
Uh-huh.
almost until
And your last
And then
name?
Diane.
Yes.
And
Two?
Diane. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm special.
See, somebody can write a
Dupree,
book
these
and
guys.
give her a percentage of it.
What time was
That's
it?
it.
You
I mean, she
special?
got it. She
Ma'am?
got
Your
it.
name is stop telling me, ma'am. You
She got
Don't you think you're special?
Damn right.
Good time.
That's why I said I'm special.
I am
Check.
definitely.
Violence.
You know,
Whatever. Hollywood, perfect Hollywood movie.
yeah,
I'm serious.
I am too. I grew up in Hollywood. Yeah, I was in the entertainment business in Hollywood, California. I was the youngest TV director when I was 20 years old in California. Yes, sir.
So
I
what
tell you what.
happened to you? You got too slick and smart for your britches?
No, I promised that for my life, if my life was spared,
Oh, okay.
whatever talents or abilities I had, that I would come back to Louisiana.
You made that promise to God.
Mm-hmm. And then
God bless
the
you.
second time, I was in a huge, very bad automobile accident that I walked away from in 1974. And that's when I made a vow that I would do for Lacombe. I adopted Lacombe. Now, it may seem arrogant, to say, but I mean, I had, and I told God, I said, how can I adopt Lacombe? I can't even fend for my own self, And God said, you can do it,
Were
because
you
I'm
down
behind
here in 51?
you. Ma'am?
Were you down here in 51?
No.
Because I was getting ready to tell you, a drunk driver ran into me right in front of Henry Keller old place. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And
So I used
yeah,
to
'cause
go.
they broke that down about what, 10?
I remember I used to go in the barroom there and listen to the rednecks.
But anyway, it left me crippled for the rest of my life. I almost died.
Mhm. No, I was in California in 51.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, look,
It's sticky.
Yeah,
You didn't do it.
I